This June the 18th Picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with our promo code MLBSGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MLBSGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Monday, the 17th of June. We are here to handicap a full slate of games, which I reckon all 15 are on the board as well. Totals, sides, the whole lot. No excuses for me in the original host from back in the day. Show used to be loads better. Mr. Munaf Manji. Munaf, how you doing?
Doing well. Just got done watching some footy throughout the day. That makes the day go by faster. That'll be the good part about it for the next couple of weeks here, Mal. But not as exciting, I guess, as the weekend as far as scoring went. I thought there was going to be some type of regression with all the goals that we saw over the weekend. But yeah, a new week of baseball, slowly approaching All-Star break. So glad to be here with you.
Yeah, I know there's been loads of stuff kind of distracting a little bit, like the Euros at the minute. Everyone's been doing that, and the golf at the weekend. I think. What did I do last night? I can't remember what I did. I watched England, and then put the golf on once England had finished. And how did you feel about Rory? Were you all Team Bryson?
I was Team Bryson. I had a 20-1 ticket on Bryson. So
there you go, Munaf.
Yeah, I felt like it was a little bit. It was washed because Rory had a 2-stroke lead, I think, in the back nine with I think a handful of holes to go, but then he bogeyed 3 out of the last 4 holes, especially that last one. Oh, that was absolutely brutal. That just opened up the door for Bryson, and he got himself in a little bit of trouble as well off the tee on 18. It looked like it could have gone to a playoff, or maybe even Rory could have pulled it off, but just unfortunate for Rory. He's in that drought now. I think 10 years without a major, so
yeah, 10 years.
You feel for him.
Yeah, I know. I felt for him a little bit, but equally, it's quite hard to feel sorry for the multi-millionaire who's just won another couple of million. I'm sure he'll be all right. Do you know what I mean? Still, would rather I had his problems than mine, if we're going to put it that way. The baseball, Munaf, seems to just be plodding along, doesn't it? I can't remember the last time we've sat here with like a big story, a trade, an injury, a team that's on a winning streak or a losing streak, or a team that we're worried about. It just seems to be just meandering its way through to what, the 70-game mark or so now.
Yeah, I mean, the big injury news that happened yesterday was Mookie Betts fracturing his hand, so he's going to be missing some time. So and then I think they put Yamamoto on the IL as well. I think it's like a rotator cuff injury as well. So you talk about some of the hot teams, Mel, like Atlanta last year. They were one of the hotter teams. This year they're going to be missing Spencer Strider for the rest of the year, Ronald Acuna Jr., and now it seems like the injury bug is getting to the Dodgers now. So I did see that Clayton Kershaw is starting a rehab assignment, and then saw a note today as well talking about injuries and folks coming back. Garrett Cole returning on Wednesday for the New York Yankees, so he's going to get the start there.
Yeah, I did forget about the Mookie Betts one. Captain Sano's just laughing at me saying there's been no real injury news apart from one of the top 5 players in the league getting injured a little bit. Captain Sano, welcome. Missed you. Not seen you in the football chat for a while. Callum, well done, Callum, for getting involved. If you are in the chat, lurking around, by all means, say hello and give us a couple of your picks, because we need all the help we can get. We've got 15 games on the card tomorrow. We're going to give out some home run hitters as well. We have launched a new. What is the name of this segment, Munaf?
I just call it dinger dingers, but if somebody can come up with a better name, I am all for it. But that's what I'm calling it right now. So, yeah, once we get a like a solid name solidified, we'll probably get like a graphic going for it and something like that. So, I'm just that's what I'm calling it right now. If you have a better idea, Mal, I'm open to all ears.
I am the ideas man, Munaf, so I'll turn my head to it. But I don't quite like dingers. That's all right. So yeah, I've got a couple of home run hitters for later on as well. But we will start tomorrow with a 6:10 Eastern first pitch between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins, where we have Lance Lynn for the Cards and Rodri Munoz goes for the Miami Marlins. Minus 145, the Cardinals, plus 125, the Marlins. Total here is set at 8. We have Lance Lynn, who wasn't been in great form. 2-3 on the year with a 3.75 ERA. You can't seem to get out of the fourth inning lately. And he's been struggling at home, but he has been much better on the road. So that gives me a little bit of faith that he can go okay here. 2.78 road ERA, and taking on the Marlins, there's no better place to do it as well because they're really struggling. Munoz is inconsistent, I would say. He has thrown the odd good start, but just the form of both teams here, Munaf. Miami are in another slump. They've lost 5 in a row before the Monday game goes off tonight, and they are now 12 and 25 at home. The Cardinals are playing better, and even though their division is incredibly tight, they are up to second now. Although by Thursday they could be back bottom, but they're playing a lot better. So not the fanciest of prices, Munaf, but I think the Cardinals just should win this comfortably. I'll take the Cards minus 145.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Munoz coming off of the best start of the season against the Mets. Not sure how much you want to take away from that. 6 shutout innings, only allowed 1 hit. The problem has been, like you mentioned, that the Marlins are, slumping. And it's been that they haven't really been able to score runs at all. They've lost now, let's see here, 4 out of the last 5 starts that Munoz has made. Lance Lynn, like you mentioned, over the last 5 games has been pretty good, but you're not really able to get a lot of length out of him because he's only gone 4 innings about over his last 3 starts, and he has given up 7 earned runs over his last 2 starts, and also walks are a concern for Lance Lynn as well. But overall, he's pitching pretty well. Despite his last 2 starts, he had only allowed 1 earned run in his previous 3 starts, but he did get into a little bit of trouble against his Marlins team, and I mean, this Marlins team has been they've been unpredictable. I'll lean here with the Cardinals. I don't love it, but I just can't trust this Marlins offense right now.
Next up, 6:40 Eastern first pitch, the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. 2 left-handed pitchers go to the mount here in Nick Lodolo for Cincinnati and Bailey Falter for Pittsburgh. It's minus 135 for the Reds on the road, plus 125 Pittsburgh. Total here is set at 8.5, Munaf.
Yeah, a little NL Central battle to start the week here between these 2 pitchers. Nick Lodolo getting the start here for the Reds, like you mentioned, Mal. On the season, he is 7-2 with a 2.93 ERA. Been one of the better pitchers for the Cincinnati Reds thus far this season. He's been pretty solid on the road as well. 4 starts, 3-1 record with a 2.55 ERA. He's been good in the NL Central Division as well. 3 starts, 3-0 with a 2.08 ERA. And the Reds have won each of his last 4 starts that he's made, and he's gone at least 6 innings over his last 4 starts as well. So a little bit opposite of what we've seen from Lance Lynn in the previous game that we just talked about. But the Red, for this Pirates team, like we knew they started really hot during the beginning of the year. That's always been a theme for them, and they kind of tail off a little bit. All the talk has been about Paul Skeens and Derek Jones for the Pirates team. And you take a look at Bailey Falter. I mean, he hasn't been too bad on the season, right? I think he's kind of treading water. 3-3 with a 3.86 ERA. The ERA has pretty much stayed a little bit, or has stayed consistent, a little bit better over his last 5 games as well for him. The problem has been that the Pirates have lost 4 of the last 5 starts that he has made, and he's given up a lot of contact as well. Walks are a concern for him as well. So I think I have the better pitcher of Nick Lodolo on the mound here. I've been a fan of him. I know you and I, or the Pod General, talked about him last season a lot. It seems like he's in good stride right now. He's in good form. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Reds here on the money line. Currently, that's around plus 140. Oh, sorry, that's for today. That's tomorrow's lines. I like the Reds here, Mal. I think that Nick Lodolo can continue the form that he's in right now. Minus 135 is what I see over on DraftKings. So I'm over the Reds here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Munaf. I've got the same pick here. Straightforward Cincinnati, minus 135. There's very little to split the two teams themselves. Record, whichever way you look at it, it's hard to split them. Therefore, the split them using the starting pitcher is a perfectly fair way of doing it. In this case, you've got two pitchers trending in different directions. Lodolo in excellent form, 6 earned run over his last 4 starts. That's 23 in 1/3 innings, giving up just the 6. And Falter the opposite, 8 earned runs in his last 2 starts. So the way the two pitchers are going can split the tie for me. And I will join you, Munaf, Cincinnati, minus 135. Third game up, 6:40 Eastern. The Seattle Mariners at the Cleveland Guardians. Bryce Miller for Seattle. Tristan McKenzie gets the ball for the Guardians, who are minus 115 with Seattle at minus 105. And the total here is sitting at 8. Miller, his last 2 road starts are the issue here. He's, 12 earned runs he's given up in his last 2 road starts against at the Yankees and at the Royals. 348 on the year, but it is those road starts. He's been so much better at home. McKenzie's given up a few as well. He's got a 4.94 ERA in his last 5. He's got a horrible start against Seattle already this season, so Seattle should be ready for him. Both teams can get on the board here. I'm surprised that total's 8. It's half a run lower than I thought it might be. So I'll take my first total of the evening, Munaf, over 8, the Guardians against the Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, Tristan McKenzie has not been good at all this season. I mean, you mentioned it, 3-3 on the season, 4.10 ERA. Last 5 games, the ERA is up to 4.94. And this is, obviously a home game. He's been better at home. I'll give him that. 8 starts, 2-1 with a 3.98 ERA. But like you mentioned, what jumps out about McKenzie is the bad start he had against the Mariners earlier this season. 3 1/3, 4 hits, 4 hits, 4 earned runs. He gave up a home run in that game as well. And over his last 5 starts, now he's issued 14 walks to the opposition. That's not really going to get it done. Now, surprisingly, the Guardians have won his last 5 starts that he's made for this team. So I don't know if I can trust the Seattle Mariners offense to contribute to the over, because a lot of times when I bet their overs, they've really let me down throughout the season. But I think that with McKenzie getting that previous start against the Mariners, you kind of question, okay, who's that advantage to? Is that to McKenzie because he saw the Mariners lineup, or is it an advantage for the batters that they saw McKenzie? They continue getting hard contact off of him and drawing the walks. The thing about Bryce Miller is that he really does make me nervous, Mal, especially on the road where he's 1-3 with a 5.94 ERA. So I'm gonna go with the Guardians here. I think a Guardians team total over would be worth a look. Maybe they contribute more of the runs here, Mal. So Guardians team total over.
Okay, so yeah, a similar handicap, but you take the Guardians. I took the full game. I just made everybody's faces go in turn big and small then by pressing buttons, totally by accident, Munaf. But there you go. You know what you get with me in the old IT. D-Rock is joined us in the chat. Hello, Dylan. How are you? Nice to have Dylan and Trev. $2 fine for Trev. He was late. Unacceptable.
Starting to add up for him.
It is starting to add up. The Christmas party is going to be an absolute doozy, Munaf, with all these fines from Trev. We're going to have a good, solid 2 weeks in Vegas in December on Trev. 6:40 Eastern first pitch is the San Diego Padres at the Philadelphia Phillies. Michael King draws the start for San Diego. Aaron Nola goes for Philadelphia. Minus 150 at home, the Phillies. Plus 130, the Padres. Total 8.5, Mina.
Yeah, Aaron Nola got the last start in, I would believe it was against Boston. And I thought that game was going to be a pitching duel because I do remember, I think it was on the pod here, I took the under in that game, and that actually just blew up in my face. They scored 12 runs. By far coming off the worst start of the season for Aaron Nola. 3 2/3, 11 hits he gave up in that game, 8 earned runs to the Boston Red Sox. Did give up a home run in that game. So do I think he can bounce back here? Absolutely. 8 starts at home, 4-2 with a 3.44 ERA, going up against Michael King. I believe, for the, is it Michael King tomorrow? Yeah, Michael King for the Padres. 5-4 on the season, 3.58 ERA. He's been absolutely fantastic in his last 5 starts as well. 2-0. Now, what jumps off Mal is that he got absolutely battered against his Phillies team in his previous start this season. 5 1/3, 6 hits, 6 earned runs. He gave up 3 home runs in that game to the Philadelphia Phillies. So this Padres team, I think they're going in the wrong direction. I know they lost all 3 games, I believe, against the Mets over the weekend, and that's a little bit telling. Now the Padres have won 4 of his last 5 starts. But I think I can see runs put up in this game as well. I think the Padres offense can get a couple off of Nola here. I think the Phillies offense can get some off of Michael King as well. If you want to go first 5 over, I don't hate that. Or if you want to go full game over in this game as well, I couldn't talk you off of that. The number's at 8.5 right now. So that's the way I would be looking in this game against with the Padres and the Phillies here, Mel.
Michael King's been really good lately. 4 earned runs across his last 4 starts, and he has been fine on the road as well. You do have to factor in the fact that Philly got to him the other time he faced them. Nola had that shocker against Boston, 8 earned runs, but he had been steady Eddie before that. And his form, it's never really been brilliant all season, but he's just been fine. I just think Philly are too good, and they're too good at home in this spot. They're 8-3 on the run line when they win at home. So minus 150 is not a terrible price if you're on that unit and a half play. But I'm happy to take Philly on the run line. And like I say, when they do win, they tend to cover. So Philly minus 1.5 on the handicap will be my play in this one. Marshawn has joined us. Marshawn, how you doing? Welcome along. Underdog Fantasy has got us covered for the NBA Finals. Pick 8 is now live for the NBA. You can create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entry, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. You can win up to 325 times your original amount. Sign up with the code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MLB SGPN. When's the next basketball game, Munaf? What's the next high or low we need to be on for our underdog plays?
Tonight is, or Monday night, I should say, is game 5. So if Boston wins tonight, it's over. They'll be the champions this season. As far as a player prop, those are not that I liked for tonight. Let me see if I can dig one up before we get off the show. Maybe we'll get towards the end of the show.
Dig one up for the DJs, Munaf.
Yeah, I'll dig it up.
6:45 is the first pitch. The Arizona Diamondbacks at the Washington Nationals. Slade Ciccone for the D-backs, and for Washington it will be Jake Irvin. It's close on the books, even money. The Snakes and minus 120. Washington with a total here of 8.5. Ciccone for me is just unbackable at the moment. He's got one of the worst recent starting pitching records in all of MLB. 1-5 record, 6.70 ERA, and just thoroughly exposed. Like, you can't bet him. Jake Irvin, on the other hand, has really, really caught the eye lately. We've talked about him quite a lot. 1.48 ERA in his last 5 starts. Washington have won his last 3. Washington are 8-2 in their last 10. I can't get away from Washington here. Washington in good form, Irvin in good form, and I don't want Ciccone. This is a nice price. Nationals -120, Munaf.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't talk you off. I don't want to put my money right now on Slade Ciccone. You mentioned it. Last 5 games, 4 of those he started for the Diamondbacks. 0-3 with a 9.13 ERA. He has a 4.02 ERA on the road, and just not backable right now, like you mentioned. Right, you're not getting a whole lot of length out of him. He's allowed 17 hits, 10 earned runs over his last 2 starts, and he's allowed at least 1 home run over his last 5 starts. Total of 8 home runs he's allowed over his last 5 starts as well. So not in good form right now. Where Jake Irvin, it's been the complete opposite. The Nationals have won each of his last 3 starts, 3-1 over his last 5 starts with a 1.48 ERA. Has struggled a little bit at home. 3.86 ERA at home, but they just haven't translated to wins for him. But he's in good form right now. It's just 2 teams going in opposite directions. Give me Jake Irvin and the Nationals. I'm right there with you.
Okay, team ride. On the next 7:05 Eastern. First pitch. Good looking series this Munaf. Baltimore Orioles at the New York Yankees. Albert Suarez for the Orioles and left-handed pitcher Nasty Nestor Cortez for the Yankees, who are -150 to win this one, with the Orioles at +130 and a total of 8.5, Munaf.
Yeah, Albert Suarez has been really, really good for this Orioles pitching rotation. Last 5 games, he's made 4 starts. 1 he's came out of the bullpen, but he's 1-0 with the 1.35 ERA. He's been really good on the road as well, 1.31. We gotta take a look at the offenses that he's pitched against in the starts, in particular his last 4 starts. It's not world beaters. He had the White Sox, he had the Tampa Bay Rays, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Atlanta Braves. So if this was last season, it may be a different story with the Atlanta Braves, even the Rays as well. But now he's going to be facing probably the best offense, or one of the best offenses this season that he has seen this season. And again, that Yankees lineup is absolutely raking right now at the moment. So I think this is going to be a test for Albert Suarez, where we really find out now that if he is going to be, that guy in this rotation for the Orioles, because again, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. I think Kyle Bradish just went back on the 15-day IL as well for the Baltimore Orioles, if I'm not mistaken. Cortez, he had a start earlier this season against the Orioles. 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs he gave up in that game. But he's been really good at Yankee Stadium. He's made 7 starts, 3-2 with a 1.77 ERA. I feel like this might be an opportunity for the Orioles bats to really display their offense, especially in that little league ballpark. I think both pitchers can give up a couple runs here. I wouldn't be opposed to taking the over in this game, Mal. I'll lean with the Orioles here on the money line. Right now, that's around +130. But I do expect to see some runs in this game. So over 8.5 would be the look for me here, Mel.
I've got a similar pick, Munaf. I'm leaning with the Orioles here. I just think there's not enough between these 2 teams. And I think it's name value. I think the name Albert Suarez is being maybe slightly disrespected, just because he's not one of the bigger names. But he's been absolutely great. 3-0 record, 161 ERA. He started going a little bit longer into games. We've had a couple of 5-inning starts out of him while he was getting stretched out. He sold the Braves, he sold the Blue Jays, he sold the Rays in a lot of low-scoring games as well. Nestor Cortez has a fairly average bunch of game lines here. Lost 3 of his last 4. And Baltimore did get him for 4 earned runs earlier in the season. I mean, tough to split. The Yankees are 22-10 at home. Baltimore are 22-10 on the road. There's nothing, you couldn't put a cigarette paper between them, Munaf. Suarez is okay, and Baltimore are too big, really. I think +130. I'll take the Orioles at that price, Munaf. Next is 7:07 Eastern first pitch between the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a match on the books. Tanner Houck goes for the Red Sox. Chris Bassett goes for the Blue Jays. It is -110 each of 2. And the total is 8. Tanner Houck is very, very reliable, I think is a key word. Boston win his starts. And he's got a 166 road ERA. So ticks and boxes for Boston. And obviously they've just come off a series win against the Yankees, which will do them the power of good. A few people in the chat chirping up about that. Chris Bassett is pitching well. 6-6 with a 3.56 ERA. Really, it's the Blue Jays and their crazy results. What do Bassett not many favours. This is a tight game, and I handicapped this as a tight game before I saw the lines where the bookies have got this as a match. But Boston played well against the Yankees. They are over 500 on the road. And see, it's hard to take the Blue Jays. This is a spot I like Boston a little bit better. Boston -110.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Tanner Houck has been absolutely fantastic for this Red Sox rotation, been their best pitcher by far, in my opinion. And he stayed consistent, right? Like on the season, 7-5 with a 2.08 ERA, 89 strikeouts, 15 walks. Last 5 games, 4-0 with a 1.91 ERA. You mentioned the road numbers. He's been absolutely fantastic as well. In the division against AL East opponents, a 0.71 ERA. And now you're going up against the offense again. The Blue Jays. I know they got I think a couple of home runs and a grand slam on the Sunday game, but can you really trust them? I've said this a lot of times this season. I really can't trust this Toronto Blue Jays offense. And now you're going up against Tanner Houck, who, when he's making starts for the Red Sox, they're winning ball games. And we're talking about in the chat here as well that the bats are finally healthy for this Red Sox team as well. And we saw that on full display over the last couple games against the Yankees in the series over the weekend. So I think it's an opportunity for them to get behind Tanner Houck, their best pitcher. Chris Bassett's been a guy that I'm not sure I can really trust, Mal. I know he's been okay on the season, 6-6 with 3.56 ERA. He has struggled at home with a 4.12 ERA, but he's been pretty good over his last 5 starts. And again, 3-0 with the 1.20 ERA, but they've lost his last 2 starts that he's made for the Toronto Blue Jays. And a lot of it is to the fact what I mentioned is that he just hasn't really gotten that run support as well. And I also don't trust his Blue Jays. I don't trust his Blue Jays bullpen either. I mean, they have guys in there, but again, I've seen them multiple times this season where they do give up a lot of hits and hard contact. So, yeah, I'm all over Tanner Houck here, the better pitcher on the mound. And you can also almost also argue, Mal, that you almost have the better offense as well with the Red Sox. So, Red Sox for me as well.
If you are betting on NBA player props on that game tonight, you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data to help you drive AI-backed betting decisions. Rhythm is great at identifying value bench players. Rhythm was on Hauser over 5.5 points in Game 4 and absolutely nailed it. Claim your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. 7:20. First pitch is the Detroit Tigers at the Atlanta Braves. Casey Mize goes for Detroit, and one of the biggest names in the game, Spencer Schwellenbach, goes for Atlanta. -170 for the Braves, +150 for the Tigers. Total is up there, 9.5, Munaf.
I think it just goes down to the fact that do you trust Casey Mize, because he's just been absolutely brutal really over the course of the season. And the starts that he is making, the runs are being put up by both teams. But just take a look at his numbers. Last 5 starts, 0-2 with a 6.33 ERA. Hasn't been very good on the road either. For this Tigers rotation, 1-2 in 6 starts, 6.15 ERA. So not sure I'm something that really excites me to get behind for the Tigers and Casey Mize. Here's complete opposite of what we've seen from Tarek Skubal throughout the course of this season. Schwellenbach on the other side here for this Braves pitching rotation. It's a guy that you probably want to hope that pans out for you, because again, they're getting a little bit thin as well in that pitching rotation, but he hasn't been very good either. He's made 3 starts this season for the Braves, lost all 3 starts that he's made. He's given up contact. He's given up 2 walks over each of his last 2 games. Total of 11 earned runs he's gave up in 15 and 2/3 innings pitched. So that's not really a good sign, for a pitcher like that. So the temperature is starting to warm up. I think this could be a game where both offenses could potentially break out here, Mal. First 5 over would be a look for me in this game. Full game over. I know it's at 9.5. It's at 9.5 for a reason, especially with these 2 pitchers. So I'll take the over in this game. I could definitely see 10 runs being put up.
Yeah, my pick's a little bit the same but different, Munaf. Myers is pitching okay, but his good starts come at home. 6 games he started on the road to a 6.15 ERA. So that pretty much handicaps that for Myers on the road. Spencer Schwellenbach kind of stymied us last week. Myself and Scott, I think it was. He pitched in the game where Povich was on the mound for Baltimore, and it was 2 vulnerable-looking rookies, and we took the over, and they both pitched out their skin. So you're hoping that Schwellenbach can back that up here against Detroit. So I'm going to leave Schwellenbach out the equation because I'm not sure what I'm going to get. And taking Atlanta team total because Myers just looks incredibly vulnerable against the Braves offense that we know can put anybody to the sword. So that's the way I've chose to go there. 7:40 Eastern. First pitch is the Tampa Bay Rays at the Minnesota Twins. Aaron Savale for Tampa Bay with Pablo Lopez going for the Twins, who are minus 150. The Rays plus 130. And the total is set at 8. Aaron Savale, 2-5 on the year, 5.20 ERA. He's been better lately, against some tricky opposition as well. But I still get the impression watching Savale that he could blow up at any time. He's not an easy watch, really. Lopez can't put a sequence together. Every time he puts a decent start up, you think, here we go, Pablo's back. And then he's not back. 6-6, 5.33 ERAs. There's no patterns at all to what Lopez is doing. Really struggled with him. I was thinking, just give me one angle in, but I can't find one because, like I say, no patterns. The patterns are with the Twins as a club because they've been the most streaky team, I think, in all of ball. They won a ton together at the start. They win 12 or something silly back in April. And then they've gone on a couple of huge losing streaks as well. They're back on a winning streak here, 5 in a row before the Monday night game. And they swept Oakland, although it was just Oakland, in a 4-game set at the weekend. So they're enjoying this homestand. It's hard to judge. This game will be way down my list, I think. I've got Minnesota at minus 150 Munaf, but I'm not proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like at this point, which pitcher do you want to back? But I'll say this with Aaron Savale, they've lost, 7 games in a row when he started. 5 of those 7 games, Mal, have been by multiple runs for the Rays. And I'm not quite sure if I can trust the Rays offense. I know Pablo Lopez hasn't been very good over his last 5 starts either. And what you mentioned exactly is that he puts together one great start, and then he has a bad start to follow it up. And that's kind of been the pattern there for him. He also gives up a lot of hard contact. He gives up home runs as well. But it just makes me nervous is the Tampa Bay offense going to be able to score off of him? Because I don't trust their offense a whole heck of a lot. Against left-handed pitching against just overall over the last 2 weeks, just looking at their numbers, they're right above league average when it comes to team batting average, when it comes to slugging percentage as well. But I'm not comfortable with that. So it would be Twins for me as well. Maybe Twins team total over. I think the Rays can contribute a couple runs here. But this 8 is really conservative to me, and I do understand why it is at 8 because, like I mentioned, with the Rays offense, you really just can't trust it. So it would be the Twins for me, and I would look at the first 5 over 4 would probably be the number here. I think the Rays could probably score 1 or 2 here, and I think the Twins could probably at a minimum get 2 off of Savale. So that's what I'm looking at here in this game.
Okay, like that, Munaf. 8:05 Eastern, we go back to the top of the page for the New York Mets at the Texas Rangers. Luis Severino for the Mets, and Michael Lorenzen is the pitcher for the Texas Rangers. it's another match, -110 each of two. Total here is set at 8. Munaf, second match of the night here on the books. How are you splitting them?
Yeah, Severino has actually been pretty solid, I want to say, this season for the New York Mets. 4-2 with a 3.12 ERA. Last 5 starts, 2-0 with a 3.27 ERA. The one area he does struggle, I guess, a little bit, you can say, has been on the road. At home at Citi Field, 3-1 with a 2.47 ERA, but on the road he has a 4.11 ERA. So that's the part that kind of makes you nervous about Severino. Michael Lorenzen on the other side getting the start here for the Rangers on the season. Let's see here. Let me get over to my page. 3-3 with a 2.86 ERA. He's been absolutely phenomenal over his last 5 starts, posting a 1.80 ERA. He's only allowed 6 earned runs in 30 innings pitched over his last 5 starts. At Global Life, he's been okay. He just hasn't been able to produce any wins. 4 starts, he's 0-2, but he has a 3.42 ERA. Did come off a phenomenal outing against the Dodgers. 7 innings, he only gave up 1 earned run, which is a solo home run to the LA Dodgers. But I mean, he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs, Mal, over his last 5 starts. So he's in good form. It's the same tune. Do you trust the Mets offense? You can say offense and their bullpen. I can't do it. So I'll probably look at Michael Lorenzen in the offense in this game here. Give me the Rangers on the money line here, -110 here, Mel.
Okay. Severino, his road numbers aren't great at first glance. But his last start was 8 innings and 1 earned run last time at Washington, I think that was. In fact, 3 of his last 4 starts, he's only given up 1 earned run. Michael Lorenzen has been hot. His last 5 starts, he's pitched 30 innings and given up 6 earned runs. And his game totals have been really low, which I quite like in this scenario with the Mets, who have been a little bit better lately, but they're still not scoring tons of runs. They can be competitive without scoring a load. Game totals in the games Lorenzen's been involved in here, 4, 7, 7, 8, and 5. And I like that trend with these 2 teams here. I don't mind Severino. I think Lorenzen's pitching well, and the Mets aren't particularly stellar. So the under 8 looks like a nice play for me. I was happy to take the low total in this one. Next game is a 8:05 Eastern first pitch between the San Francisco Giants and the Chicago Cubs. Logan Webb will go for the Giants. Left-handed pitcher Justin Steele for the Cubbies. And guess what? It's a match on the books. It's -110 each of 2. No total this time for the usual Wrigley Field reasons. Logan Webb is proven a little bit more reliable, even though we know the home road splits can be skewed for Logan Webb. His road ERA is down to 4.06, but he's given up maximum 2 earned runs in his last 3 starts. So I'm kind of like what I'm seeing off Webb here. Steele, we were hoping that he began to find his way, because it wasn't happening for him at the start of the season, but he is starting to put it together now. He's only given up 2 earned runs in his last 4 starts, which covers 25 innings. The Cubs aren't playing particularly good ball. I checked Logan Webb's numbers in Wrigley Field, and he's been fine. He's 2-1 in his career. Didn't take a side. I've gone to take the under, Munaf, but obviously we don't see a total. But I do think this could be a low-scoring game. I mean, obviously we're waiting on the weather, Munaf, but I couldn't split the teams, but I do think that both pitchers will go well.
Yeah, it seems like Justin Steele is starting to return to form here a little bit, despite not winning games, or the Cubs not winning games. I could say over his last 5 starts, he's only posted a 2.01 ERA. Not giving up a lot of hits as well. Only gave up 5 earned runs against the Atlanta Braves. But since then, he's pitched, let's see here, 13 in total. That's 25 innings. He's only allowed 2 earned runs in those last 4 starts to the opposition. And maybe you can say it wasn't against maybe the greatest offenses. I mean, he did have the Reds in there twice. He had the Rays in his last start. The bullpen gave it up in that game, and then he had the Brewers as well. So I like what I've seen from him over his last 5 starts. Logan Webb, like you mentioned, he's been a guy that I always want to trust when he's pitching at home for the Giants. And I think this might be the spot where I want to get behind Justin Steele. Curious to see how the Giants have done against left-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks here. Let me just take a look. They're actually number 5 in slugging percentage. They're number 2 in team batting average. They're number 1 in on-base percentage, and I believe they're probably top 3 in WRC plus. They're actually tied with the New York Mets. So I'll lean here with the Cubs and Justin Steele at home. I don't love it, but I think this could either be a game where it turns into a pitcher's duel, Mal, or it's either going to be these guys are going to be giving up runs early. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at here. So, Cubs lean. That's what I got.
Below average cook. Yes, Chef has just joined us in the chat. You need to go and listen to the first few minutes of the latest Euro 2024 gambling podcast, Chef, because Big Baz told us about his meal that he went for in Poland, the 11-course bespoke sort of prepared to order once the chef's established what you like. But it sounds absolutely incredible. So I won't bore you with the details here, but go and give Baz 5 minutes and he can tell you all about that. It sounds different class. Next on the list is an 8:10 Eastern first pitch between the Houston Astros and the Chicago White Sox. Left-handed pitcher Framber Valdez for the Astros, and Jonathan Cannon goes for the White Sox. Plus 175 for Chicago, minus 200 Houston. Total is 8.5, Munaf.
Yeah, I know the Astros gave up, or not gave up, but released, I should say, Jose Abreu over the weekend. So they still owe him $30 million, but we'll see what transpires for them at first base. And this team hasn't been afraid to make moves. We've talked a lot about that. I've seen a lot of that, but it's funny that they released him before they faced his former team here in the Chicago White Sox. But Jonathan, you said Jonathan Gannon, or sorry, not Gannon, Cannon. I believe his last start was against the Mariners, and I was watching this game, and he absolutely had a phenomenal outing in that game against the Mariners. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. The only run he gave up was a solo home run he gave up in that game. And he had 2 bad starts or appearances, I should say, prior to that, where he allowed 10 earned runs. But it feels like he's settling in a little bit here. And I know that the Chicago White Sox are actually getting healthy as well, at least on the batting side of things. Framber Valdez, I think TVDBJ pointing it out as well. Left-handed pitcher where the White Sox bats shockingly are heating up here as well. But I just think that for Framber, he's again really been struggling over his last 5 starts, 2-3 with a 5.23 ERA. On the road, he has 3-2 with a 3.77 ERA. I think this could be a game now where we do see some runs being put up as well. I'm not sure that Jonathan Cannon can repeat that success that he had against the Mariners, because you are going up against a different offense here in the Astros, and the Astros are on the road here. So ignore my banner because I have it in Houston. But I wouldn't be opposed to another over in this game here, Mal. I'm not sure I'm going to lay that 205 price with the Astros. But I think I do expect to see runs in this game. So first 5 over. We know about the White Sox bullpen as well. I think they could get a couple off of Framber here as well. I think they get it over this total, Mal.
I don't think you can take $2 on the Astros the way they're playing at all.
No.
Every week I ask you on a Monday, are we panicking now? And you keep saying no, but one of these Mondays, Munaf, you will be, because they're just really struggling. And Valdez has been really inconsistent. Last 5 starts, he's given up 1-1, 3, 5, and 8 in no particular order. And tomorrow night, he could give up 1, 3, 5, or 8. And I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm not sure he knows. So all of these outcomes is possible with Valdez. Cannon was outstanding last time at Seattle. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 7. Trev mentions that the White Sox 9th WRC plus against lefties recently.
Yeah.
I'm going to take, you mentioned the White Sox bullpens. We don't want anything to do with that. Let's go White Sox first 5. bit of a throwback to the old Oakland first five from last season. We haven't had much of that this year, so I'll take the White Sox first five here. Should be a bit of a fancy price. We have next a 8:40 Eastern first pitch between the LA Dodgers, the Colorado Rockies. Walker Buehler goes for the Dodgers and Austin Gomber for the Rockies, who are plus 165 home dogs. Dodgers minus 185. Total is 11.5. I do have Mookie Betts' name written down, so I hadn't completely forgotten. He was my first note when it came to the Dodgers. So I was on top of the news, folks. Buehler's been okay. Gives up 2 or 3 earned runs. He's been quite hittable. And also he's been quite beatable. Or the Dodgers have been quite beatable in his starts. Now, Austin Gomber had been on a decent run. And we noticed that, actually. We handicapped him quite favourably for a couple of weeks. But that's all gone to shit recently. 15 earned runs in his last 3 starts. But all 5 of those has been on the road. He's drawn a succession of away starts. And his home ERA is 3.14. He's been fine. I checked Buehler's numbers in Coors. 11 games started, so decent sample size. 4.89 ERA. I'm going to take Colorado, Munaf. Let's go wild. Plus 165 for the Rockies.
Couldn't talk you off of it. It's going to be interesting to see how this offense is going to look now without Mookie Betts. I know they already were missing Max Muncy. I know he doesn't have the greatest batting average, but he was a power bat in that lineup for the Dodgers. And Walker Buehler has just not been very good thus far this season for this Dodgers rotation. And they haven't really gotten, or the Dodgers haven't given him a lot of run support either in his couple starts. 3 of his last 4 games that the Dodgers have lost when Buehler has started now combined for 4 runs of support to Walker Buehler. They did have a game where they scored 11 in the start against the Pirates, but it's more so that he's given up at least 3 earned runs in 3 of his last 4 starts, and you're not getting a whole lot of length out of him as well. He's susceptible to giving up home runs as well. You mentioned it, Austin Gomber did have a rough start against the Dodgers earlier this season, but he's also been very solid at home as well. I know he hasn't recorded a win just yet, but a 3.14 ERA. So if you want to take first 5 innings money line, or if you want to go full game money line, couldn't talk you off. I think that the Rockies can score runs off of Walker Buehler as well. I think TVDBJ mentioned it in the chat as well, so I like that. First 5 innings money line, full game money line, Rockies. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I want to just see how this Dodgers offense is going to look now without Mookie Betts as well, even though they still have Ohtani and Freeman in the lineup now. But yeah, Rockies for me as well.
The penultimate game on the show is a 9:38 Eastern first pitch between the Milwaukee Brewers and the LA Angels. Tobias Myers, we like saying that, goes for the Brewers, and Griffin Canning is the pitcher for the Angels. Minus 135 for the Brewers. Angels plus 115. Total is 8.5. Munaf.
Yeah, anytime I see Griffin Canning, that's going to be pitching. That's a guy that I just want to fade. His last start was against the Diamondbacks. He gave up 4 earned runs in that game, 2 home runs. I want to say it was in the first inning he gave up a 3-run home run to Christian Walker, because I do remember I played the over in this game and that one got there fairly easily for me. But you are going to get linked out of Griffin Canning. He's gone at least 6 innings over his last 3 starts. But over his last 2 starts, he's allowed a combined 11 hits and 7 earned runs to the opposition. And again, another pitcher that hasn't got a lot of run support either, Mal. He's allowed the Angels have only scored 1 run in each of his last 3 starts. So combined 3 runs they've scored in his last 3 starts for Griffin Canning. And you mentioned Tobias Myers on the mound there for the Milwaukee Brewers. On the season, been pretty good. 3-2 with a 3.76 ERA. He's been really good over his last 4 starts as well. 3-0 with a 2.66 ERA. The Brewers have won each of his last, 3 starts that he's made for this team. So sometimes 1 + 1 = 2, Mal. So I'm going to take Tobias Myers and the Milwaukee Brewers. If you want to go on the run line here, get some nice plus odds. Couldn't talk you off of that. But again, I think this is a game where I think the Brewers get the job done against Griffin Canning.
Yeah, I've got the same pick, Munaf. I prefer Myers. I prefer the Brewers. So that was as far as I got. It was as far as I needed to go. Minus 135 for the Brewers. Okay, final game here is a 9:40 Eastern first pitch. It's the Kansas City Royals and the Oakland Athletics. It is my guy, Alec Marsh, for the Royals. For the Athletics, left-handed pitcher, Oakland Harris. Oakland Harris? That would be a great name. Hogan Harris is the answer. Oakland are plus 115. The Kansas City Royals are minus 135. Total here is 8. Alec Marsh, been high on him all year, was struggling a little bit, and then realised a lot of his potential last time when he threw 7 scoreless against the New York Yankees. He was really, really good that day as well. I think he took a no-hitter, actually, into the 6th or something like that, if my memory serves me right. 5-3 on the year, 3.63 ERA. Hopefully, that'll be full of confidence and he can back it up here against the Athletics, who are not the Yankees. But Hogan Harris has been going really well for Oakland as well. In his last 3 starts, he's only given up 3 earned runs. The Royals did okay against the Dodgers, but didn't score a ton. And I think we can take a slow burner here, Munaf. I'm going to take a first 5 under.
Yeah, Alec Marsh, I believe it was his last start, which was really good against the Yankees. Yeah, 7 innings, shutout baseball. He only got 1 hit to that Yankees offense. I mean, that's really impressive from going up against that offense that has just been absolutely red hot over the course of the last month. But prior to that, I mean, he was giving it up as well. He given up 5 earned runs in 2 of the 4 previous starts and 4 earned runs over the previous 3 out of 4 starts. So depends on which Alec Marsh you're going to see in this. Is it going to be the one that we saw against the Yankees or something in the middle that you could get a decent start out of him? Or is he going to give up a lot of contact and give up walks as well? You mentioned, right, Hogan Harris has been actually pretty good over his last 5 starts with a 2.49 ERA. So I couldn't talk you off of what you mentioned, the first 5 under, maybe a full game under here as well. You see a victory here maybe for the Royals, 4-2, 4-1, 4-3, something like that in that neighborhood. It gets under this total. But I do like the Royals side here in this game here as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 15 games in the book. We need a lock and a dog, and we need dingers. Do both dingers have an S on the end, Munaf, or is the first dinger singular? What's going on?
Let's do first one singular, second one plural. How about that? We'll call it
lock,
dinger
dog,
dingers.
There it is. He's only got a banner for it. What a guy. Right, okay. Do you want to lead us up with your lock, dog, and dingers?
Yeah, let's do lock and dog first for both ourselves, and then we'll get to the dinger part of it. All right, so for my lock, I honestly like the last 2 games that we talked about, whether it's the Brewers or whether it is the Royals. I'm gonna go with the Brewers in this game, minus 135 on the money line. It's really just a fade Malcolm of Griffin Canning. He's been a guy that I just can't trust. He'll give up hard contact. I know the Brewers offense isn't as great as, or they were off to a great start earlier in the season. I just wanted them to be a little bit more consistent and get out early against Griffin Canning. So I do like them full game. I'm going to take the Brewers minus 135 with Tobias Myers on the mound going up against Griffin Canning. For my dog, couple ways I can go here. I want to take the Twins run line, but I'm not sure I can bet on the Twins offense, especially with Pablo Lopez and how bad he's been. You know what? I'm gonna swing for the fences, Mal. Give me the White Sox first 5 inning money line. Let me see if I can find a price on that. It might not just be out yet, but it's definitely going to be a plus price going up against the Astros. I like what I saw out of Jonathan Cannon over his last 2 starts, and it's just a play on me that I don't think the Astros and Framber Valdez should be priced at the number they are, north of a $2 favorite. And I think that we mentioned it, and TVDBJ mentioned in the chat as well, that The White Sox have been pretty good against left-handed pitching over the course of the last 2 weeks, so I think that could carry over in this game. Once it gets to that bullpen, you want to get out with that White Sox, so I'm going to trim it down to that first 5-inning money line for the Chicago White Sox as my dog.
Okay, interesting. For my lock, I'm going to go back up to the second game that we looked at, Munaf, which is Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. And I just prefer Lodolo considerably at the moment over Bailey Falter. They're heading in different directions. Lodolo's stringing it together nicely. Falter isn't. Not much to split the teams at all. Any other day, this is a 50-50. And it's the pitcher that makes the difference here. So I'll take the excellent Nick Lodolo. And for my dog, I think Baltimore are just too big. I don't think the Yankees should be minus 150. It's not a Yankees
I was considering
pod.
that.
Yeah, it's purely, I think, the name recognition on Albert Suarez, who's been absolutely fine. And Baltimore can get to anybody. In its Nestor Cortez, who has been a little bit vulnerable. Difficult to split. So plus 130, I think Baltimore are absolutely live. Okay, Munaf, I've never done this before. I'm excited. Let's go dingers. How do we do it? You teach me.
So I know we don't have odds out yet because we do record the pod a day earlier just to get ahead of the lines and get the best number that we can. But one, and this might sound like a fanboy play, but I do like Rafael Devers against Chris Bassett to leave the yard. You take a look at what Rafael Devers against Chris Bassett in his career, 3 of 8, 375 batting average, Mal, but the 2 of the 3 hits that he's gotten against Chris Bassett have left the yard. And I know there was a stretch there about a couple of weeks ago where Rafael Devers was absolutely ripping the cover off of the baseball. But I think that he gets back to form here. I know he hasn't hit a home run since, I believe, June 5th, which was against the Atlanta Braves. But I think going up against Chris Bassett, where he has had a success against him, Alex leaving the yard, I think Rafael Devers can leave the yard there. So I'm going to pick Rafael Devers for my home run.
Well, I don't know how many we had to pick, Munaf, so I've got a couple. I've got one short one I'm not going to win any prizes for, and then I've got a couple that I might win a prize for. First up is going to be, you might have heard of him, Shohei Ohtani, Munaf. Name is
Never
Japanese fella. Yeah, he's good. I think he's going to be all right. He hitting in Coors tomorrow against Austin Gomber. Lefty on lefty. On this whole slate for tomorrow, I had to look at the numbers. He's by far got the biggest isolated power and ex-Woba. So I think Ohtani tomorrow, obviously he'll be a little bit of a prohibitive price. So I've got 2 players here. This is they're on the same team and they're going to bat 8th and 9th. So we'll split a unit, Munaf. We're going to take half a unit each on, even if they're in the team. Right down the bottom of the Phillies lineup here is David Dahl. He'll be batting 8th, outfielder. And the catcher, Rafael Marchand, who's getting some run now. JT Real Muto is injured. Both numbers, like I say, the ISO power just stands out here. Who are they taking on tomorrow? Michael King it is. The potential numbers against righties, absolutely fine. So they will be a fancy price. They'll probably be afterthoughts down at the bottom of the list. So yeah, give me Shohei Ohtani, give me David Dahl and Rafael Marchand for the Phillies. Trev's putting up Gunnar Henderson, below average Cook. Wants Aaron Judge. That's as imaginative as my Shohei Ohtani pick. Munaf, 3, 2, 1. We have hit the hour mark. How very professional we are. Anything you want to tell the people before we go?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Obviously, but NHL and NBA over this week. All eyes will be on baseball. So definitely excited, getting closer to All-Star break. And then after All-Star break, we'll be, it's crazy to say, almost be getting ready for the playoffs down that second half of the stretch. But still a lot of baseball left to be played. So definitely excited. Hopefully we found some more winners here on the episode.
Yes, mate, that was fun. I like our little weekly old man chats, Munaf. thanks everyone who joined us in the live section. It was fun as always. If you are lurking around and you've never come into the comments, you get a chance on YouTube. By all means, do it and throw out a few of your players here. It's a nice little community. Everybody welcome. Thank you, Munaf. I'll speak to you later in the week. I'm back with someone tomorrow. Can't remember who, so that'll be a surprise. But good luck with your bets. Until tomorrow night, same time. We will see you down the road. Cheers.